spoken / whisper. So yeah, I thought that was so cute as well. I just love the design of this. It's so cute. So when you first open the book, the second page has the picture of the little prince. And the author here, I'm not sure how to pronounce that because that's in French, but translated by Irene de Stouteberry. The Little Prince. Chapter 1. Once when I was 6 years old, I saw a beautiful picture in a book about the primal forest called The True Stories. It showed a boa constrictor swallowing an animal. Here is a copy of the drawing. The book stated boa constrictors swallow their prey whole without chewing it, whereupon they can no longer move and sleep for 6 months digesting it. I then reflected deeply upon the adventures in the jungle and in turn succeeded in making my first drawing with a color pencil. My drawing was like this. I showed my masterpiece to the grown-ups and asked them if my drawing frightened them. They answered, "Why should anyone be frightened by a hat?" My drawing did not represent a hat. It was supposed to be a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. So I made another drawing of the inside of the boa constrictor to enable the grown-ups to understand. They always need explanations. My drawing number 2 looked like this. The grown-ups then advised me to give up my drawings of boa constrictors, whether from the inside or the outside, and to devote myself instead of geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar. Thus it was that I gave up a magnificent career as a painter at the age of 6. I had been disappointed by the lack of success of my drawing number 1 and drawing number 2. Grown-ups never understand anything by themselves, and it is rather tedious for children to have to explain things to them time and again. So I had to choose another job, and I learned to pilot airplanes. I flew more or less all over the world, and indeed geography has been extremely useful to me. I am able to distinguish between China and Arizona at a glance. It is extremely helpful if one gets lost in the night. As a result of which I have been in touch throughout my life with all kinds of serious people. I spent a lot of time with grown-ups. I have seen them at a very close quarters, which I'm afraid has not greatly enhanced my opinion of them. Whenever I met one who seemed reasonably clear-sighted to me, I showed them my drawing number 1, which I had kept as an experiment. I wanted to find out whether he or she was truly understanding. But the answer was always, "It is a hat." So I gave up mentioning boa constrictors or primal forests or stars. I would bring myself down to his or her level and talk about bridge, golf, politics, or neckties, and the grown-up would be very pleased to have met such a sensible person. Chapter 2. Thus I lived alone with no one I could really talk to until I had an incident in the Sahara Desert 6 years ago. Something broke down in my engine, and since there was neither a mechanic nor a passenger with me, I prepared myself for a difficult but what I hoped would be a successful repair. It was a matter of life or death for me. I had scarcely enough drinking water for a week. On the first night, I fell asleep on the sand, 8,000 miles from any human habitation. I was far more isolated than a shipwrecked sailor on a raft in the middle of the ocean. So you can imagine my surprise at sunrise when an odd little voice woke me up. It said, "Please draw me a sheep." What? discovered an extraordinary little boy watching me gravely. Here's the best portrait I was able to draw of him later. But of course, my drawing is not half as charming as its model. It is not my fault. I had been discouraged by grown-ups in my career as a painter when I was 6 years old, and I hadn't learned to draw anything with the exception of boas from the outside and the boas from the inside. I therefore stared in total astonishment at this sudden apparition. Do not forget that I was 1,000 miles away from any habitated region. My little chap did not seem to be either lost or dead, tired, or dying of hunger, thirst, or fear. He did not look like a child lost in the middle of the desert, 1,000 miles from any habitated region. When I finally managed to speak, I said to him, "But what are you doing here?" Whereupon he repeated softly and gravely, "Please, draw me a sheep." When a mystery is too overpowering, one dare not disobey. Observe it as soon to me 1,000 miles from any human habitation. And in danger of death, I took a sheet of paper and my fountain pen out of my pocket. But I suddenly remembered that my studies had been concentrated on geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar, so I told the little chap a little crossly that I did not know how to draw. He replied, "That doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep." Since I had never drawn a sheep, I drew for him one of the 2 pictures I had drawn before, that of the boa constrictor from the outside, and I was astounded to hear the little fellow say, No, I don't want an elephant inside a boa. A boa constrictor is a very dangerous creature, and an elephant is very cumbersome. Everything is very small where I live. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep." So I drew. He looked at it carefully and said, "No, that one is already sick. Draw me another one." And I drew. My little friend said gently and indulgently, "Don't you see that is not a sheep? It is a ram and has horns." Once again I made another drawing. But it was rejected too, like the previous ones. This one is too old. I want a sheep that will live for a long time. My patience had run out. By then, as I was in a hurry to start dismantling my engine as soon as possible, so I scribbled this drawing, and I explained it. This is only the box. The sheep you asked for is inside. I was very surprised to see the face of my young judge lighting up. That is exactly the way I wanted it. Do you think the sheep will need a lot of grass? Why? Because where I live, everything is so small. There should be enough grass for him. I have given you a very small sheep. He bent his head over the drawing. Not so small that, look, he has gone to sleep, and that is how I met the little prince. Chapter 3. It took me a long time to find out where he came from. The little prince who asked me so many questions never seemed to hear mine. It is thanks to the odd word here and there that everything was revealed to me. For instance, when he saw my airplane for the first time, I shall not draw my airplane. That would be far too complicated for me. He asked, "What is that object?" It is not an object. It flies in his airplane. It is my airplane. And I was proud to be able to tell him that I could fly. He cried out when, "What, you dropped down from the sky?" "Yes," I replied modestly. "Oh, that is so funny." And the little prince broke into a lovely peal of laughter, which annoyed me to no end. I like my misfortunes to be taken seriously, so you too come from the sky. From which planet? I immediately perceived a ray of light in the mystery of his presence, and at once questioned him. "So you've come from another planet?" But he didn't reply. He nodded gently while gazing at my aeroplane. It is true that you can't have come from I can't talk. It is true that you can't have come from very far away. That's the picture. cocking my sheep out of his pocket, he contemplated his treasure. You can imagine how my curiosity was aroused by his half-confidence about the other planets, so I tried to find out a little more. Where do you come from, my little fellow? Where is this where I live of which you speak? Where do you want to take my sheep? After a thoughtful silence, he replied, What I like about the box you have given me is that he can use it as his house at night. Of course, and if you are good, I shall also give you a rope to tie him up during the day, and a post to tie him to. But the little prince seemed shocked by my proposal. Tie him up? What a funny idea. But if you do not tie him up, he will wander off and get lost. My friend burst out laughing at it, but where would he go? Anywhere, just straight ahead. Whereupon the little prince remarked gravely, It wouldn't matter. Everything is so small where I live, and perhaps a little wistfully he added, Straight ahead of oneself one cannot go very far. Chapter 4. Thus I learned a second very important thing, that his planet of origin was scarcely larger than a house. But that did not really surprise me much. I knew full well that apart from the planets such as Earth, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, which had been given names, there are hundreds of others which are sometimes so small that it is difficult to see them through a telescope. When an astronomer discovers one of them, he does not give it a name, but a number. He might call it, for example, Asteroid 325. I have serious reasons to believe that the little prince's planet of origin was the asteroid known of B612. This asteroid has only been observed once throughout a telescope by a Turkish astronomer in 1909. At the time, he organized a great demonstration of his discovery at an international astronomical congress, but because of his Turkish attire, nobody believed him. Grown-ups are like that. Fortunately for the reputation of asteroid B612, however, a Turkish dictator imposed European costume upon his subjects under pain of death, so the astronomer repeated his demonstration in 1920, dressed in an elegant suit, and this time everybody was convinced. If I have told you these details about asteroid B612 and revealed its number to you, it is on account of grown-ups. Grown-ups love figures. When you talk to them about a new friend, they never ask questions about essential matters. They never say to you, What does his voice sound like? What games does he prefer? Does he collect butterflies? They ask you, How old is he? How many brothers does he have? How much does he weigh? How much money does his father earn? It is only then that they feel they may know him. If you were to mention to grown-ups, I've seen a beautiful house built with pink bricks, with geraniums on the windsills and doves on the roof, they would not be able to imagine such a house. You would have to say to them, I saw a house worth 100,000 pounds, and they would exclaim, Oh, how lovely. Thus, if you said to them, the proof that the little prince really existed was enchanting, that he laughed, and that he wanted a sheep. Now when you want a sheep, it proves that you exist. They will shrug their shoulders and will treat you as if you were a child. But if you say to them, the planet he came from was asteroid B612, then they will be convinced and leave you alone with their questions. That is the way we are. One must not hold it against them. Children should show great understanding towards grown-ups. But of course, for those of us who understand life, we cannot care less about figures. I should have liked to start the story like a fairy tale. I should have liked to say, once upon a time, there was a little prince who lived in a planet scarcely bigger than himself, and who had need of a friend. For those who understand what life is all about, it would not have seemed closer to the truth. For I do not want my book to be read carelessly. I have experienced so much grief in setting down these memories. 6 years have already elapsed since my little friend left me with a sheep. If I am attempting to describe him, It is in order not to forget him. Not everyone has had a friend, and I could become like grown-ups who are only concerned with figures. That is why I bought a box of paints and some pencils. It is hard to take up drawing again at my age, having never made any attempts other than drawing a boa from the outside and a boa from the inside at the age of 6. I shall certainly endeavor to make my portraits as true to life as possible, but I am not at all sure of succeeding. One drawing is all right, another shows no resemblance at all to its subject. The height is not right either. Here the little prince is too tall, there he is too small, and I am not sure about the color of his suit, so I persist by trial and error to the best of my ability. I shall also make mistakes about some important details, but I must be forgiven for that. My friend never explained anything to me. Perhaps he thought I was like him, but unfortunately, I cannot see sheep through boxes. Perhaps I am a little like grown-ups. I am getting old. So that was the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I am planning on reading a little more of this to you in my next video, possibly. Not sure. But anyways, yes, I hope you enjoyed it. I suggest watching the movie and reading this as well. It is such a beautiful book. But yeah, I hope you guys had a good New Year's, and I hope you all are still staying safe. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day or night, and I'll see you in my next video.